We back with DC strats for Tyrant Gigas. No, wait. Tyrant armor. This season, counters are upped and it's minus 15% HP per second to max. And when all the little co-op freaks come out of the woodworks for DC, you know it's a death pen angle. I will be going over the mechanics of the fight, some tips and tricks, and I have a few example teams to use this season. All of this will be timestamped, which you can find in the video's description. So let's go ahead and check it out. On Expert, the boss gains a permanent buff that gives it plus 50% defense, plus 30% anti-ground res, and plus 30% anti-air res. And then on top of that, it also gains a 50 stack of an undispellable plus 2% defense buff, and it loses only one stack after getting hit 10 times, which in total makes this boss gain 250% or have 250% defense. Yeah, have fun with that. Special conditions. This boss learned how to drop lightning apparently. So now every 10 seconds it drops a little pillar of lightning in front of it. It has valid hits of 2, and it just kind of chunks your front line, especially on Expert. Attack pattern enhance is rather simple. It just doubles the hit check from 80 to 160, making it basically impossible for us to be able to actually complete that hit check. Here we have Tyrant armor. He is a defender type boss who starts at the back, slowly walks towards your ship menacingly, and spawns a bunch of little ads that are normal rangers, and then one sniper ad that's large and does a lot of damage. Boss's special, indicated by the blue bar underneath his portrait, is an AoE knockback. This can be dodged. Boss's ult, indicated by the purple bar underneath his portrait. He basically just charges forward and then hits everything in his path, and then throws down an AoE lightning strike, which is only one valid hit, so you can shield it, and it can be redirected, so you can turn him around so he doesn't just run over your team. Boss will initiate a hit check around the end of the first bar of his HP. This is an actual hit check and not a damage check, so you need multiple units that hit fast. He'll do it again at the start of his last bar of HP. During the hit check, the boss is going to sit there and have an aura around him. This slows your unit's A speed down by 90%, give or take. Failure to complete the hit check will result in a laser beam that'll knock back anybody who survives, but basically normally wipes your team. Here are the stats for nerds. Expert mode. The HP is coming in at a whopping 5 million. The defense is 7.4k. This creature has 4.3k hit and 2.5k evasion. This means if you're gonna want to dodge without perfect evasion, you need 2,319 or more evasion, and if you want a hope of hitting this boss, you need 4,792 or more hit at 100%, or if you shred by 50%, you just need 2,396 or more. No, just that. So for our stats for nerds for this boss has 1.4 million HP, has one of the highest defense coming in at 3.3k, almost 3.4. Now he's got 1.9k hit and 1.1k evasion. Now all this means that our tanks are going to need at least 1053 or more evasion in order to actually dodge the boss. Our DPS, in order to surefire the boss at 100% evasion, will need 2,171 or more hit, Or if you shred the boss's evasion in half, it'll need 1086 hit or more in order to surefire. Biggest tips I can give you is that if you don't dodge the first knockback, go ahead and restart. It messes up a lot of positioning, and on top of that, sometimes some of your units will get killed. By some miracle, your front line's still alive. There's this nifty, neat feature where if you click on the portrait, you click the button above their head, it retreats them. This works really well because this boss only ults if something's within melee range. So this might buy you the few seconds you need in order to clear this boss. Okay, so I'm going with an auto start here. Timings work out pretty well, so might as well do this. And then we want to get Ministra on the field as soon as possible. We want her AoEing the ads down, doing damage to the boss, you know, the usual things. So, important thing is that we need to keep Ecclesia alive. And this is not an easy task, and it's not too difficult. You just need to spam the ever-living crap out of her ulti. Every 10 seconds, the boss is going to toss down a lightning bolt, and you need to be either immune or in ult during the iframes to sit there and deal with that. Now, I deploy Aegea all the way back here because it actually lines up her specials and ultis really well for this fight. And to maximize damage here, I'm sitting there popping both the ultis and using Shift S1 here, and then Ministra's first ult. Now, I'm doing this early. I could have sat there, waited till Spencer was out, and had it, you know, made sure I had the Aegea buff to sit there and do that. But we need her ulti for what we're going to be doing a little later. Now we want to get Regina onto the field so that she can get hit by most of the stuff here to get her out of her first form as soon as possible. We deploy Spencer here and then get into the sky so that we can sit there and try to get more buffs to sit there and do damage here. Now we go ahead and use Aegea's ulti here. It's a little, I don't like that I have to do it here, but it's really the best place to use it so that we can have it back up on the last part of the burst phase. Now we need to iframe with Sky and Ministra 100% right here. We do not want Spira getting deployed because Ministra gets knocked back. And you'll understand why. And I'm not using S1 here because I want to save it for the burst on the last part. Now this is a little tricky here because once you go into this DPS step, you want to unsummon Ministra and get Ecclesia off the field as soon as possible. And again, iframe with Sky so that she doesn't die. Now we do this because if you notice, the boss isn't using its ulti anymore. We're going to redeploy Ministra here, get our Kemhana buffs to try and hopefully squeeze out some more skills here, and then deploy Ecclesia back here so that Regina has surefire for the rest of the fight. But this is kind of a double-edged sword because if Ecclesia gets too close to that boss, she's going to sit there and proc that ulti. So use her ulti, keep her away from the boss as much as possible if you can. And as you can see, that death pin just doing wonders with Regina. And then everybody else is kind of, you know, doing absolutely no damage. I'm pretty sure they're healing the boss at this rate. Here we're running Quad as the ship with Kemhana as the operator. For Ecclesia, we're running full CDR. I am running one additional ground res for this run in particular. Ministra, we're just going full death pin. there's really no other options. Just Death Pin. Yang, we're just tanky CDR. Same with Chinatsu, we're just gonna go with tanky CDR as much as possible. Sinjia, because she is an Awaken and she has inflated stats, we can kind of skimp on the ground res for her, but it is preferred. Sky would be the same. Honestly, I'd rather have ground res than just full DPS on Sky. But you can iframe with her ulties so she doesn't die. Spencer, you want on tank CDR as well. You want her spamming her skill as much as possible. And then Regina at Death Pin as well. Death Pin, the more Death Pin you have, the easier this boss becomes. You're the unfortunate soul that has absolutely no Death Pin gear whatsoever. Then the best thing you can do is try to squeak out a score on hard. Now, we're going to forward deploy Ministra so that she has her ulti during the burst. Go into Ecclesia, which the timing works out pretty well here, even without TUs, to sit there and dodge that first lightning. Ministra's going to get hit by it though, but that's fine. She backsteps, gets into the correct position for the rest of the fight, and she's okay. It's not really any danger of getting killed here. And then it's just rock Kimhana with Chinatsu, drop Rivet, let her do her damage, and then it's just waiting for this next part here. Now this is kind of important. You can sit there and use these ships S1 at about 222 to 220 depending on when you're trying to kill the boss, but you want to sit here and time Ecclesia's ulti so that it all hits at the same time as Ministra's ult. And then you just explode the boss. Like I said, you squeak out a nice 2500 score. Ministra doing wonders on her damage. Here we're running Enterprise as a ship and Hana as the operator. For Ecclesia, we're just going full CDR with as much skill haste as possible. Want her using her buffs to sit there and keep herself alive. Ministra, we're just going on full DPS, much anti-defender, anti-ground, range damage, anything that can help us with the burst. Chinatsu, we're just tank CDR, skill haste. And then Rivet, the same thing. We want much anti-defender as possible and anti-ground. Lonely is kind of flex. I went with A-speed tank. She doesn't really need the tank stats. She doesn't get hit. You can go full damage on her, but her damage isn't that great. So it really just doesn't matter what kind of gear you put on her. And Soyun, because she is a ranger and she actually can do damage, anti-defender, anti-ground, they do attack speed so she gets onto the field faster and applies her debuff as fast as possible. The rest of the units do not matter. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope this helps you improve your scores this season. If you haven't started farming Volcano, this is a reason to do so. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're feeling extra special, you can join the Mage Institute by clicking the join button. You can catch me on Discord, link is in the description. If you want to support this channel, there's a link in the description for that too. As always, we'll see you all next time.